And I remember Chuck and I were like hanging out, and he's like, there's a party tonight at this barn in Tampa. It was a bunch of bands playing. I want to say Nocturnus played, Amon with the time, that was pre-Deicide, Executioner, which were Obituary before they became Obituary. Of course, I remember Dave Vincent at the show. I remember like everybody in the scene was there.
Yeah, Athiest. Sounds like everyone's there.
It was like all of the bands. It was probably more bands in the audience than audience kind of thing. And
it sounds like a local show.
God, yeah, basically. First off, I'll never forget Glenn kicking over these Virgin Mary statues. He had these like kind of cheap concrete statues at the time. It's like kicking them off the heights of the stage, and you know, they just sounded so unbelievably brutal. It was just like, holy shit. And then I remember Executioner get on and Tardy, and it was just like, wow, you know, it was like, holy, like he didn't even say words at that time. It just sounds. But it felt like they were young. I mean, we were all like at that point. But I also distinctly remember Dave Vincent coming up to Chuck, because they knew each other from the scene, and him saying, I really like the dry vocal approach on Spiritual Healing, because it was a very progressive approach to a lot of those albums. They were adding a lot of reverb, and it was like Spiritual Healing was this very dry, in your face kind of guttural vocal. No one was doing that, and I remember him kind of specifically saying that to him, which was really interesting. But yeah, it was a really beautiful time, because you think about these, you have churches and retired people, and so this was just like the boredom of youth responding to just like, you know, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
And again, it probably kept a lot of people out of trouble. It was all a response to that environment.
It makes sense, because I think people people grow under oppression like that.
Yeah.
That's why I always said, like, my favorite band, one of my favorite death metal bands is Cryptopsy, and they came out of Montreal. It's always because it's so cold up there.
There you go.
Like they're hiding inside and they're angry and make angry music.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah. Maybe Central Florida was so hot. There was also Sweden had its own interesting parallel.
Yeah.
There was Entombed and all those bands coming out of there that were kind of doing their version of the scene. It was.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Gothenburg metal. It seems like, it's so cold. That's
what
why.
It is, yeah.
It's just so cold up there too.
So cold.
They're just so cold. They're staying inside, and their sun, they have a few months where there's no sun too.
Right.
So they're stuck inside, getting angry, pissed off, and they make great music,
totally.
great art.